Chapter 15 Beauxbatons and Durmstrang. Only X more than Harry work a play. Wholly found in his mind and his sleeping brain, he be working on it till night. He naps drags in the pain down life. Life's the dramatic visual we can roam and write. Back down to desire come room. He took a piece epitomated from the table, upon which his divination homework still lay and a work following lead. Dear Sirius, I reckon I just imagine my sky heat. I wish he'd have slipped the award to you last time. The point come be everything high he. Don't worry about my me. Why he compliment for Norma. Harry. He's inclined out of the portrait hall up to the slim castle held up on only variable by peace you drive to Orvina to a largest my his hotel along the fourth.
The owner was a circular stone room, rather cold and draughty because none of the windows had glass in them. The floor was entirely covered in stove oven droppings and the returgitated skeletons of mice and walrus. Hundreds upon hundreds of these of every breed imaginable were nestled here on perches that rose right up to the top of the tower. Nearly all of them aspil tall here and there round amber eye grower at Harlem. He spotted Hedwig nestling between a born owl and a tawny and hurried over to her, sliding a little on the dropping strewn floor. It took him a little while to persuade her to wake up and then to look at him as she kept shuffling around on her perch, showing him her tail. She was evidently still furious about his lack of arrangement the previous night. In the end, it was Harry suggesting she might be too tired, and perhaps he would ask Ron to borrow a pin that made her stick out her leg.
Just with him already, Harry said, throwing her back and they carried her own bass arm to one of the bolts in the wall. Before in the mentor room, she nipped her fast, perfect right hair than she would ordinarily have done, but held it softly in a razoring sort of way as a sail. Then she sprang her wit and two off into the surprise. Harry was here out in thick with the family feeling of Eunice back on the hymn stomach. He had been so sorry. Their serious rapidly was allowing his worry rise than increasing them. They was a lie, Harry, saying Hermione surely over breakfast, when he told her drawn what he had done. You didn't imagine your scarf hardened and you know it. So what, say Harry? He is not going back to Azkaban because of me. Draw it, say Ron, Charlie or Hermione, as she opened her mouth to argue some more and or once. Hermione hit him and Will Celine. Harry did his best not to worry about Sirius or the next complete odd week. Try. He could not stop himself looking exactly around every morning, with the post all arrive, nor, late a night before he went to sleep, present himself, sitting horribly within of Sirius, cornered by the mentor, down same dark London street. By bedtime time he tried to keep his mind off his good father, who within he still had coding to describe him. Nothing worked too well on a troubly made a good hair-drying season. On the other hand, their lesson level becoming more difficult and demanding than ever before, particularly the one against the dark art.
To their surprise, Professor Moody had enclosed that he would be putting the imperious course of each of them in turn to demonstrate its power and to whisper the cloud rest its effects. But you said if Ali Professor said Hermione's unquality as Moody cleared away the disk with a sweep of his wand, leaving a large clear space in the middle of the room. You said to use it again another human was? Dumbledore once you saw what it feel like. Said Moody has magical eyes swiveling onto Hermione's and fixing her with a rich, unbreaked state. If you reserve learn to her way, when someone's putting in it on you so they can control you completely, fine by me, you accept, off you go. He pointed off Graland's finger towards the door. Hermione went away pink, and muttered something about not magical that she wanted to leave. Harry and Ron grenaded each other. They know Hermione's would dress it Bobbitoppers put they miss such an important lessons. Moody began to beckon students forward into run and put the imperious course upon them. Harry watched us one by one. His classmates did the most extraordinary this under its infusion. Then Thomas opened the times around the room, singing the national anthem. Lavender Brown imitated a square. Neville Pearson and a series of quiet straws gymnastic vault certainly not have been capable of his normal state. Not one of them seemed to be able to find two course off, and each of them recovered only one mood he removed it. Potter, Moody, Glover, you next? Harry moved forward into the middle of the classroom, into the space the Moody had classed of dicks.
It was a moment wonderful feeling. Harry, fly a floating sensation as very far, and Maury, in his head was win Jake always, leaving not hit but a wagon and shrips harness. He stood there feeling animals relies only distance aware of everyone watch him. And he hears met eyes Moody white echoed in some distant chamber of his anti-brain. Jump onto the desk! Jump onto the desk! Harry, but his obediently prepared to spring jump onto the desk. Why far? Another watch he awoke in the fire of his break. Stupid then to do real, say the watch jump onto the desk. No, I don't fake and will thanks beside the other watch a little more firm. Oh no, I don't really want to jump. No, the next then Harry feel watch consider rain. He had both jumped trying to prevent himself from jumping the release watch he smashed headlong into the desk, knocking off over and by the film in his leg. Alright, but like, no, that mark like it. Grab Moody's watch and saddle Harry film the elite. A coined feeling watch happening and the red in his head seemed to battle. Look at the lot. Potter he it and he damn hit beat it. We'll try the agate Potter and the right of you. Attention, watch his eyes. That worry you see it very good, Potter. They hereby control you.
The way he talks Harry mattered as he hobbled out of the defense against the dark arts class. An hour later, Moody had insisted on putting Harry through his passes 4 times in a row, until Harry could throw the curse of an entirely. You'd think we were all going to be attacked any second. Yeah, I know, said Ron, who was skipping on every alternate step. He had much more difficulty with the curse than Harry thought. Moody assured him the effects would have worn off by lunchtime. Talk about paranoid. Ron glanced nervously over his shoulder to check that Moody was definitely out of earshot, and went on, no wonder they were glad to get short of him at the ministry. Did you hear him telling Sims what he did to that witch who about it? Boo behind him on April Fool's Day. And when are we supposed to read up on resisting the imperious curse with everything else we've got to do? All the 4 years had noticed a definite increase in the amount of work they were required to do this term. Professor Mrs. Gonadal explained why. When the class gave particularly long grown as the amount of transfiguration homework, she had said, "You are now entering a most important phase of your magical education." She told them, her eyes glinting dangerously behind her square spectacles. "Your ordinary wizarding lives are drawing closer. We don't take all still fifth year," said Dean Thomas indignantly. "Maybe not, Thomas, but believe me, you need all the preparation you can get. Miss Granger remains the only person in this class who has managed to turn a hedgehog into a satisfactory pincushion. I might remind you that your pincushion, Thomas, still curls up in."
Yefelduwa told. He growled off, "I've been taking a leave out of Professor Moody books. I have made a good ferret Malfoy. The Gryffindors traveled with the largest Malfoy flashes with anger, but apparently the memory of Moody's punishment was still sufficiently painful to stop him retaliation. Harry, Ron and Hermione returned to the castle at the end of the lessons in high spirits. Think Hagrid put down Malfoy was particularly satisfied, especially because Malfoy had done his very best to get Hagrid husked the previous year. When they arrived in the trance hall, they found themselves unable to proceed down to the large crowd of the students congregated. There are millions around a larger scenes, which had been erected at the foot of the marble staircase. Around the tallest of the three stood on tiptoe to see over the heads in front of the end. Read the thing along to the other two. Treasured tournament. The version from Beauxbatons and Durmstrang will be held at 16 o'clock on Friday, 13th of October. Lessons will end half on half yearly. Brilliant, said Harry. It's a potion last day on Friday. State won't have time to post them as all. Students will return the bags and books to the dormitories and assemble in front of the castle to greet our guests before the welcoming fest. Only a week away, said Ernie Macmillan of Hufflepuff, emerging from the crowd, his ears gleaming. I wondered if Cedric knows. Zink and Azar go where?
Harry and Ron were deeply in use, and Professor Trelawney told them that they had received top marks for their homework in their next divination class. She read of large portions of great productions, commenting there for their unflinching expressions of the horrors in store for them. But they were less amazing than she asked them to do. The same thing for the man after next. Both of them were running out of ideas for catastrophe. Meanwhile, Professor Binns, the host who taught history of magic, that the written weekly is eyes of the goblin rebellions of the 18th century. Professor Snape was forcing them to research antidote. They took things seriously, as she had hinted that we might be poisoning all of them before Christmas to see if their antidote works. Professor Flippy has asked them to read 3 extra books in preparation for their lesson of summoning charms.
People were disembarking. They called these their silhouettes passing the light in the ship follows. All of them Harry noticed seemed to be boiled along the lines of Crabble and Goyle. But them and they drew nearer, walking up their laps into light streaming from the entrance hall. He saw that their bulk was really dark to the thought that they were wearing cloaks of the king of Shogi mighted fur. But the man who was leading them up to the castle was wearing fur of a different sort,
and silver like his hair. "Dumbledore!" he calls Hurley as he walking up to the shore. "Who are you, my dear fellow? How are you?" "Blooming, thank you, Professor Karkaroff." Dumbledore replied. Karkaroff had a fruity and enthused voice when he stepped into the light pouring from the front door of the castle. They saw that he was tall and thin like Dumbledore, but his wild hair was short and he goatee, finished in a small curl, did not entirely hide his rather weak chin. When he raised Dumbledore, he shook hands with both of his own. "Dear old Hogwarts," he says, looking up at the castle and smiling. His teeth were rather yellow, and Harry noticed that his smile did not extend to his eyes, which remained cold and shrewd. "How good it is to be here! How good!" "Victor, come along into the voice. You don't mind Dumbledore." Victor was a slimming head cold. Karkaroff beckoned forward one of his students. The boy passed. Harry caught a glimpse of pomade-carved nose and thick black eyebrows. He didn't need to punch off the mark Ron gave him of the hiss in his eye to require that profit. Harry eats crumb.
Static said Ron Blancy as Ernie hurry off. "Digari," said Harry, "he must be Andrei the Trident. That idiot Hogwarts champion sent Ron as they pushed the white riding the charity cries towards the Stikers. He's not an idiot, you just don't like him because he be Greenford." And Queen said, "Hermione, I've heard the really good student, he a prefect. She spake of through this sudden the matter. You only like him because he had some that run scandal. Excuse me, I don't like people just because they had some," said Hermione Inglani. Ron gave a low falling cough which sounded only like lighter. The appearance of the same in the entrance hall held a marked effect on the inhabitants of the castle during the following. There seemed to be only one type of conversation, no matter.
Rooms were flying from student to student like highly contagious gems. Who was going to try from Hogwarts champion what the tournament would involve? Half the students from Beauxbatons and Durmstrang feared from themselves. Harry noticed that castle seemed to be undergoing an extra sour cleaning. Several grimy portraits had been scrapped, much to the displeasure of the subject, to the huddled in the frame, muttering darkly and wincing as they felt their raw pink spaces. The suits of armor were suddenly grimy and moving without speaking and Argus filch. The caretaker was behaving so ferociously to any student who forgot
to wipe the shoes that he terrified a pair of offers a girl into hysterics.
When they went down to breakfast on the morning of the 4th of October, they found that the great hall had been decorated overnight, and enormous salt pans had from the walls, each of them reminiscing a Hogwarts house red, which a gold lion for Gryffindor, blue which a bronze eagle for Ravenclaw, yellow which a black badger for Hufflepuff, and green which a silver serpent for Slytherin. Being the teacher's table, the largest banner of all Hogwarts coat of arms, lion, Potionite and snake united. Around a lodge lighter Ains. Harry, Ron and Hermione stopped Fred and George at the Gryffindor table. Once again and most unusual end, they were sitting apart from everyone else and conversing in low voices. Ron led the way over to them. It's Obama all right. George faced Sam gloomily to Fred. But if she won't talk to us in person, we'd have to send him the letter after all. What will Stevie it into his hand he can't avoid for us ever? Who's avoiding you? Said Ron, sitting down next to them. Wish. You would said looking irritated at the interpretation. What's Obama? Ron asked George. Having a nice kid like you for brother, said George. You two got any ideas on the tree wizard?
I asked McGoblet how the champions are frozen, but they wasn't telling, said George bitterly. She just told me to shut up and get on with transfer during my rugby. Wonder what the tasks are going to be, said Ron finally for. You know, I bet we could do some Harry we've done danger stuff before. Not in front of a panel of judges. You haven't said me. McGoblet says the champions get offended, paints a good day to how they've done the tasks. Who are the jobs? Harry asked. Well, the head of the participate schools are always of the parent, said Hermione, and everyone looked around at her rather surprised, because all three of them were in chess during the tournament of 1792, when Cookenter, the champions were super said to be catches was sent of her. She noticed them all looking at her and said, with her usually air of impatience, said nobody else had read of the books, and she had. It's all in Hogwarts, a history fond of course that books not entirely reliable right title, or a highly passed and selective history of Harvard with glosses over the nastiest aspects of the school. What are you about? Said Ron. House always beyond loudly and proven Harry writes. Not us in over 1,000 doors Harvard. A history mentioned that we are column in the operation of 100 players. Harry school hit and applied himself to his Scrapple's ex.
His and Ron's lack of enthusiasm had done nothing whatever to get Hermione's of the feminine to apologize for households, for about all they had paid to sex of as Beauxbatons had only done it to keep her quiet. They Sykes had Benedict trusted, however, if thinking they ought to have made Berminal or Westforth had been imagining Harry and Ron. Eva signed friendly to wear badges the two persons others to do the same and hand. Also taking to rattling around the Gryffindor. Ifnish corner piece and making the collection teen under the innocence. You do realize that your chicks and enchantments, your buyers, teen class kinder and your fat calves. By a draw, our mechanical creators are unpaid and Ashley we can say forcefully. Some people like Neville hate Page and Judge, to Hermione Lovenian as them few settle middle interesting, in what we hate to say thou were realistic. To tame a too active role in keeping May redent the wild friendsel all at Jake. Rob now rode hills, which was floating then all in Stan Selton and Frodo. George knowingly met towards Hermione. Listen, have you ever been down in the chins, Hermione? Think Warden's a sword to wall will have said. George index friend sort of time to Nick fat. And we had meet them and they happy. They think they that the about that in the world.
That because they educated and brainwashed. Hermione began hotly, but he next favored we drowned by the sudden washing noise from overhead which the aerial of the post on. Harry looked up at us and said Hedwig soaring toward him. Hermione stopped talking. She and Ron watched Hedwig as down only Harry's shoulder folded his witch and held out warily. Harry put it at serious reply and offered Hedwig bacon rich with she then checking that Fred and George were safely imaged in future about she. Harry read an out serious letter in a wish to Ron and Hermione. Nice to Harry. I bask in the country and well hidden. I want you to keep me posted on everything that's going at the Hogwarts. Don't Hedwig kept change on and don't worry about me. Just watch out for yourself. Don't forget what I say about your scarf. Serious. Why you have to keep change on? Ron asked in a low voice. Hedwig attached too much attention said. Hermione at answer. She stood out a snowy old that kept returning to where he's hiding. I mean they not bigs a day. Harry rolled up the letter and slipped it inside his robes, wondering whether he felt more or less worrying than before. He supposed that serious mannequin to get Basket House begin out was something. He could Danny added that the idea that Sirius was much never was residing. At last he would have to wait so long for a response every time he would.
Thanks, Hedwig, he sighed, stroking her. She hooted sleepily, dipped her beak briefly into his goblet of orange juice, then took off again, clearly disparted for a good long sleep in the owlery. There was a pleasant feeling of anticipation in the air that day. Nobody was very attentive in lessons, being much more interested in the arrival that evening of the people from Beauxbatons and Durmstrang. Even Beauxbatons was more bearable than usual, as it was held on board shore. When the bell rang, Harry, Ron, and Hermione hurried up to Gryffindor Tower, deposited their bags and books of they had been instructed, put it on their cloaks, and rushed back downstairs into the entrance hall. The heads of house were ordering their students into cleanliness. Weasley, stagnant, your head, Professor Miss McGonagall, Spaniard, and Ron. Miss Potter, take the ridiculous things out of your hair. Parvati clothed and removed a large ornamental butterfly from on the of her plaid. Follow me, please, said Professor Miss McGonagall. First years in front, no pushing. They filled down the front steep and leaped up in front on the castle. It was a cold, clear evening, dusk falling, a bright, transparent looking. Mood was a lady, thanks over the forbidden forest. Harry, standing between Ron and Hermione in the foreground from the front, thought Dennis Grevey, positively shivering with anticipation among of the other first years.
I don't eat, said Hermione. How then? Broomsticks. Harry said, looking up at the starry sky. I don't think so not from that far away. A puddcake, Ron suggested of they could operate my baby yellow to do it and 17 wherever they come from. You can operate escape the Hogwarts grants. How often do I have to tell you? Sighed Hermione. That sky the grants started, but nothing was moving. Evening was still silent and quiet and usual. Harry was standing to feel cold. He wished then I might. The foreign students were prepped in grammatic. He remembered what Mr. Weasley had said back on the campsite before the Quidditch World car, always the same. We can trace showing of when we get together, and then Dumbledore solid off from the back row, where he stood with the other teachers. Eunice, I am very much miscalculated the delegates from Beauxbatons. I wrote be set many students each I learning in different directions. The yelled 6 year point of the forest, something large, much larger than a broomstick. Oh, indeed, a 100 broomstick was hunting iris the deep blue sky towards the chasm, growing large all the time. It's the dragon. Checked one of the first year. Losing her head completely. Don't be stupid, it's a flying high. Sighed Dennis Creevy.
Then Quack was closer, as the gigantic black shape skimmed over the treetops of the forbidden forest, and the light shining from the castle windows. His feet, they saw gigantic powder blue horse-drawn carriage, the size of a large house, swinging towards them, pulled south the aisle by a dozen wild horses, all powerful and each the size of the elephant. The front 3 rows of students drove backwards as the carriage hurtled ever lower, coming into land and at a tremendous speed then, with an almighty crash that made Neville jump backwards onto a sliding 5 years foot, the horse's hood, larger than dinner plate, hit the ground. A second later the carriage landed too, buzzing its vast heels with the golden horses' tooth. Their animals hissed and rolled large fiery red eyes. Harry just had time to see that the door of the carriage bore a coat of arms before it opened. A boy in pale blue robes jumped down from the carriage, bent forward, fumbled for a moment by something on the carriage floor, and unfolded a set of golden steps. He sprang back respectfully. Then Harry saw a shining back who emerging from the inside of the carriage, a shoe the size of a child's slid, followed almost immediately by the largest woman he had ever seen in his life. The size of the carriage and of the horses was immediately explained. A few people gasped. Harry had only ever seen one person as large as this woman in his life, and that was Harry. He doubted whether there was any difference in their lives.
That because they are uneducated and brainwashed, Hermione began hotly, but her next few words were drowned by the sudden whirring noise from overhead, which announced the arrival of her post-house. Harry looked up at once and saw Hedwig soaring towards him. Hermione stopped talking abruptly. She and Ron watched Hedwig anxiously as she fluttered down onto Harry's shoulder, folded her wings and held out her leg wearily. Harry pulled off Sirius' reply and offered Hedwig his bacon rings, which she ate gratefully. When checked, said Frank and George were safely immersed in further discussion about the Twizzler tournament, Harry read out Sirius' letter in a whisper to Ron and Hermione. "Nice try, Harry. I'm back in the country and well hidden. I want you to keep me posted on everything that's going on at Hogwarts. Don't use Hedwig. Keep changing oaths and don't worry about me. Just watch out for yourself. Don't forget what I said about your scarf, Cyrus. Why you have to keep changing oaths? Ron asked in a low voice. Hedwig attracts too much attention, said Hermione at once. She stands out a snowy owl that keeps returning to wherever he's hiding. I mean, they are not neighbors, are they? Harry rolled up the letter and slipped it inside his robes, wondering whether he felt more or less worried than before. He supposed that Sirius managing to get back without being caught was something he couldn't deny. Either that the idea that Sirius was much nearer was reassuring. At least he wouldn't have to wait so long for a response every time he wrote.
As Gargafro arrived yet, Madame Maxim asked. He should be here any moment, said Dumbledore. Would you like to wait here and greet him, or would you prefer to step inside and warm up a drive? Warm up, I think, said Madame Maxim, but their horses. Our care of magical creatures teachers will be delighted to take care of them, said Dumbledore the moment he has returned from dealing with a sling situation which has raised with some of his other charge. Squared Ron murdered to Harry, grinning. My steeds require careful handling, said Madame Maxim, looking as though she didn't rather any care of medical graduate teacher and her great gold be up to the job. They are very strong. I assure you that Hermione will be well up to the job, said Dumbledore, smiling. Very well, said Madame Maxim, bowing. Schlegel, will you please inform this urging that the horses drink only single malt wishing. It will be attended to, said Dumbledore, also bourbon. Come, said Madame Maxim impressively to her students, and the Hogwarts groved pardon to allow her and her students to pass up the stone steps. How big you reckon Dartmouth's horses are going to be? Seamus Finning said, learning around Lerwent and Parrot to address Harry and Ron. Well, if they are any bigger, that this Lord Ivan Herc won't be able to handle them, said Harry.
That's if they hasn't been aided by his scatterers. Wonder what's up with them? Maybe they've escaped, said Ron hopeful. Oh, don't say that, said Hermione, with a shudder. Imagine that lot lost in the ground. Then starts shivering, singly now waiting for the Durmstrang party to arrive. Most people were gazing hopeful up at the sky. For a few minutes the silence was broken only by Madame Maximia's hug horse smoothing and stamping. But then, can you hear something? said Ron suddenly. Harry listening. A loud and oddly raised nose was differing towards them from out of the darkness, a muffled rumbling and sucking sound as though an immense vacuum cleaner was mowing along a right path. The lake, yelled Lee Jordan, pointing down at it. "Look at the lake." From their position at the top of the lawns overlooking the ground, they had a clever view to the smooth black surface of the water. Escape that the surface was suddenly not smooth at all. Some disturbance was taking place deep in the canter. Rich bubbles were forming on the surface. Waves were not washing off the made bands, and then, out in the very middle of the lake, a whirlpool appeared as if a gunpowder had just been pulled out of the lake floor. What seemed to be a long, black pool began to rise slowly out of the heart in the whirlpool, and then Harry said, "There it is." "It's a mast," he said to Ron and Hermione. Slowly, magnificently, the ship rose out of the water, claiming in the moment it that a strangely scaly look about it the swelling. It was a restricted wreck, and the dial mistily shimmering at its portly looked like glassy eyes. Finally, with a greeting shouting mouth, the ship emerged angrily bowling on the troubled water and began to really toward the bank. A few moments later, the bird on sleep on the ancient began thrown down